The story of OJ is actually the story of Egyptian mythology. If you can view the layers of coding beyond the song. So, most people know in the song, Jay-Z talks about having equity, buying land back, but there's a much deeper reason to why he chose OJ Simpson specifically. Because there's not a lot of education on the way that the Federal Reserve System works, much less how the original keepers of the land that we call the Americas were actually the ones who were part of great dynasties, have been erased in modern day times. And so we look at them as our entertainers, our athletes, people who achieve great heights through the guise of entertainment. We all know about OJ Simpson's famous case before he passed away with the unaliving of his wife, Nicole Brown, and Ron Goldman. Now, OJ Simpson's father, Jimmy Lee Simpson, was a custodian for a Federal Reserve Bank, and he was also a drag queen in his spare time as well. I kept thinking the story sounded super familiar. Jay-Z definitely mirrored himself in OJ Simpson's story. He has a song on the album 444 called Smile, where he says his mom had 4 kids, but she's a lesbian, had to pretend so long that she's a thespian. Now, why this plays a part into the story we'll get into in a little bit later. The fact that his father worked for a Federal Reserve Bank is what stood out to me the most. Now, I think I've shown this on a previous code before, but Ron Goldman had a birthday of July 2nd, 1968. Now, I couldn't find any deep history on him other than being a waiter, but I find it very significant that Marcus Goldman, head of one of the largest investment and banking firms in the United States, passed away on July 20th. No history of relation, but this is the internet. I expect things like this to be scrubbed or you're not able to find them. Now remember, these stories are interwoven into movies that we see as well, and I've shown before how Ron Goldman reminds me of Jordan Belfort in the show The Wolf of Wall Street, which is all about stock, finances, money laundering, and so much more. It goes very deep because I guess you would have to pull apart the fact that when athletes become very big, they're plagued with certain decisions that can misdirect the course of their life into something else happening. And this happens in the form of spiritual attack as well. It's very much a part of everything that we do. Now, what I find interesting is that OJ Simpson has a July 9th birthday, 7-9. The element 79 is also that of gold. And of course, when I coded it, the story of OJ equates to the Federal Reserve. Now, when the Federal Reserve Act was passed, it was a way for banks were no longer going by the gold standard and instead going by commercial paper. And as we know, that commercial paper is formulated off of the credit system of the people who were on the land in the first place through enslavement and corporations. Now, another person who shares this birthday with OJ Simpson is Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks stars in a movie called The Da Vinci Code. As you can see, Da Vinci Code also equals to OJ Simpson too. But what's the Da Vinci Code and what was it all about? Tom Hanks plays a historian and amateur cryptologist named Robert Langdon who helps this woman named Sophie Neveu uncover the secret that she is the last living blood descendant of Mary Magdalene and Christ. Now, historically, we would have to go into the location of where things are actually located, hidden secrets, and there's so much. But when we think of Christ and Magdalene, I also think of Osiris and Isis. They're 2 emanations of the same character. There's even a scene where Tom Hanks takes Sophie's character into this bank to get some sort of inheritance, and outside the bank it says OZ, like Oz, like Osiris. To have an inheritance this big supersedes everything that we think that we know about our actual government systems and how money works, much less who the land is actually owned by. Now, Beyonce, who's the wife of Jay-Z, who mirrors himself in the story of OJ, was in a movie called Austin Powers. Austin Powers Gold member, to be specific. Now, in the story of Osiris, Isis travels to Egypt to recover all 13 parts of his body after he's unalived by his brother Set. She was unable to find his phallus, so she attaches a gold one. And of course, her name equates to Osiris. So this is what Jay-Z views himself as, Osiris, who possibly through a bloodline was supposed to be OJ Simpson at one point. Stories, again, are interwoven and hidden, so you won't ever actually know what happened. It all just seems like funny fiction. And remember, Austin Powers was the international man of mystery who lost his mojo. Your mojo essentially is your creation. That's your gold source because it creates life, and life creates currency, and currency creates credit, and so on and so forth. If you also recall, when she pictures herself as the goddess Oshun, who is the goddess of sweet waters. This makes me think of the movie Coming to America and how Eddie Murphy's character, who's also played a pharaoh before, by the way, comes from ruling the nation of Zamunda, which also reminds me of like Wakanda, to come to New York to find his queen. And he goes to Queens, New York. Even the song, if y'all remember, She's Your Queen to Be, equates to gold. Again, it's going to sound very stupid when you hear it because it is, but The stories are told to you directly in your face because nobody expects you to actually figure any of this out. This also makes me think of the song Gold Digger by Kanye West and Jamie Foxx. Because what is a gold digger? They say it's a woman who wants a man for his money, but what is the wealth actually? The wealth is the creation between two souls to create life. And so if someone is trying to take away life from a man, and y'all know what I'm talking about, it's a form of theft. You could consider the Federal Reserve to be, because so many people lose the right to their ancestral estate because at birth they sell away their rights. Only people much higher up have figured things out like this, which is why he talks about equity, letting the beat build, why you see companies like Rock Nation, Parkwood. And I'm not saying that they're wrong for any of this. I just want you to understand like where this mindset is derived from and where it comes from. And so taking it back to O.J. Simpson and the story of Ron Goldman, he reminds me again of Ken from Barbie. Now, Ron Goldman also shares a birthday with Margot Robbie, who's from Queensland, Australia. She also plays the character of the Duchess in The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, why does any of this matter? Barbie and Ken would be like your representations of Osiris and Isis, only the split version. Now, the keys of heaven, also called St. Peter's keys, refers to the metaphorical keys of silver and gold. Silver would be that of the moon, gold would be that of the sun. But what silver and gold are we really talking about here? The silver and gold would be the representation of Osiris and Isis coming together in an alchemical marriage. And we saw what happened to OJ's life after the divorce from his first wife, Marguerite Whitley. Marge and Homer even equal Barbie and Ken. You could also speculate why Kanye had these specific lyrics to the song Gold Digger. That's a sample from the Ray Charles song, I Got a Woman. You see how the dynamic and the frequency changes over time, and how unknowingly things like the Federal Reserve can impact events that we think are so minute and small? I mean, come on, even in Jay-Z's Family Feud video, he has Thandie Newton with blue hair, which would just be a representation of the goddess Ni. And also while we had the mysterious discovery of Egyptian tomb that looked exactly like Marge Simpson's character. Their characters playing characters playing characters, resembling these stories that have essentially already happened because the past, present, and future are all occurring at the same time. I mean, even the story of The Simpsons is all about the nuclear family. The story of The Simpsons is all about the nuclear family. Even Homer J. Simpson himself works at a nuclear power plant. So you see what I mean? Mirrors of the same energy. So then consider what the nuclear family is, and also even what nuclear warfare is. A global thermonuclear war with the Cold War era said it could possibly even lead to human extinction. And they're giving their creation power over to something that they think is bigger than themselves. The family dies. Hence why Jay-Z said no one wins when the family feuds. This is also why he has songs like Holy Grail. He talks about the Magna Carta. Him and Beyonce go to the Louvre when they do the Ape Shit song with all of these historical paintings behind them, because legacy is within the family. He also has a song called Legacy. So y'all get where I'm going with this.